Hey, Kevin Noe here, Fight Designer LLC on a hot day in the Northwest. Been having a heat wave here. Just a quick share this time on 3D printing. So, as those of you who follow the channel know that I've been experimenting over the years with 3D printing prop replicas and training replicas. Sometimes it's about getting stunt doubles. Sometimes it's about just having inert things that I'm allowed to bring to places that don't allow real firearms or even airsofts, but I want to do a firearms workshop there. So being able to say these are completely inert chunks of plastic, incapable of ever firing anything that I 3D printed myself, etc. Or just having cheaper things for the workshops I've been teaching locally. So sometimes, often those are inert, solid, no moving parts. Sometimes they've got moving parts, although, there's nothing that I can currently print that's going to be better than an airsoft for that. So it's really only about when you don't want even an airsoft. When you want something that's obviously a dedicated training prop or inert dummy prop, rehearsal prop, whatever. And for the most part, I've been limited so far by things that I can find online. So open source stuff on Thingiverse or Cult 3D or other websites where people share their designs, sometimes free, sometimes for a fee, sometimes with no commercial use license, things like that. And there's been some cool things. I shared some shell ejecting models I've made. There've been some that have moving parts either through rubber bands or springs or friction fit magazines, things like that. This one has a little 3D printed spring mechanism built into the trigger. It's kind of fun. Some of these are great, although this one, it just pushes together, so they fall apart easily. There's always trade-offs. Nothing's perfect. But there's a lot more like Glock type replicas out there, the 1911 type replicas. There's things I'd love to be able to teach about a 1911 in terms of like having the hammer have to be back before you pull the trigger, or else it doesn't do anything, things like that. Airsofts can be great for demonstrating that, but like I said, sometimes you can't use an airsoft. I also, I'm a little biased towards compact replicas, partly because it takes less filament and time to print, partly because it's easier to pack. When I'm doing a workshop and I've got, 20 replicas I'm packing, it's always nice when they're not all full size. And partly because some of the workshops that I've been teaching lately have been for a local group that's more likely to be interested in concealed carry than they are in full size prop replicas or anything big like a Desert Eagle or something like that. And I hadn't found anything free anyway that was a 1911 style on that. So the closest I'd come was some of the Glock 19s. That's again a slightly compact, slightly full size. It's kind of a compromise. It's not like a 26 or whatever. But they didn't have rails. So one of the things that I did when I could finally start figuring out how to mod things is put rails on stuff. Now I had been trying to figure out how I could modify things through Blender because that seemed like the go-to thing for 3D modeling. I'm trying to teach myself. I'm an old dog trying to learn new tricks. And there were things it was supposed to be doing that I'd look up online. And this is how it's supposed to work. And it wasn't doing it. And why wasn't it working? I don't know. So I ended up switching over to TinkerCad. And honestly, it feels a little like the Duplo blocks version as opposed to Lego Technics. If anybody else grew up playing with those different things. It's obviously meant to be sort of like the training wheels version for idiots, but let's face it, I'm kind of an idiot at this, and that's okay. And I'm not making a lot of things from scratch. I just wanted to be able to modify some things. So what it let me do was mash up existing models and modify some things. So, in my slicer in Cura, I can rescale things. I can cut things off under the print bed, but I couldn't change the proportions of a specific model, and I couldn't mash up models very well. I could kind of overlap them and try to print them that way, but it didn't really work well. And what I wanted to do was a compact 1911, sort of an experiment. And then once that worked, I wanted to be able to put a rail on other things. So what I did was I found a full-size 1911 model that had an ability to have some moving parts of the spring. And then I was able to go into TinkerCAD and kind of make copies of it and shrink parts of it and mash those parts onto other parts that stayed full size so that I could have things that were compact but still have a full size trigger guard and controls and other things like that. So that the whole thing wasn't just miniature. I don't want miniature, I want compact. And that's different, right, when we're talking firearms, because it's still got to be functional for full size hands. And it took a while, right? I've got a lot of different versions here. It's not perfect. you know, one of the things is like, if I want to take a part off, what I do is I overlap it with a negative space block or a negative space shape. And so I end up putting a whole bunch of those on top of a model. But then if I want to adjust a part relative to another part that I've already meshed together, I unlink them, but then I end up with all the other negative space links, like the whole history of it, in one big mess, and that's not ideal. Or I can resave it, export it as a new STL, upload that, but now I can't detach the parts again and like change the angle of the hammer, for example. So things that I was playing with on this, one of the things was making it shorter, both the grip and the muzzle. One thing was I wanted the hammer to be cocked, because that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, is single actions that aren't cocked. And I wanted a rail, because one of the things that I sometimes do in my training workshops is like leapfrog kind of stuff, where I'll use a laser pointer as a way of knowing that if somebody's muzzle is pointed in a safe direction. So, you know, now we can have these compact laser pointers, we can have even like, you know, 3 different colors going, so that I know that, okay, if you've got the red dot and they've got the purple dot and they've got the green dot, I can see, oh, I saw some green on that person's leg, you flagged them when you passed, when we were doing our little leapfrog drill, things like that. So, you know, it's not an actual like tactical use, but as a training use, I think lasers can be great. Also just seeing like how that dot moves when you pull the trigger, or if it moves when you pull the trigger, how quickly you can acquire the sight picture. Is the dot on target when you come right up? So, you know, for dry fire kind of training, that's great. So I wanted that option on these replicas I was printing. So I ended up putting that on this Glock 19 model that I printed as well. Again, these are meant to be obviously training replicas and not real. So I just overlapped that little bit of rail section with this one. And then I also put it on my compact 1911. And I also wanted the hammer to be back. So the original slide was this sort of 1911A1 thing. And the hammer was forward, but I found a different model with a hammer that was cocked. And it took me a few tries to find an angle that I liked. It was, you know, how far back can it be without hitting the beaver tail? I also changed, like some of these, I downloaded a different model with a different sort of a modern beaver tail as opposed to the 1911A1 kind of scoop in the back here. Some of them it just didn't look right, so I swapped around a couple different versions. And then I also decided, you know what, these 1911A1 style sights aren't really what you're as likely to find. So I tried putting on these sort of, you know, modern 1911 type sights, but then the first time I forgot that I also need to be able to slide this piece in as the retaining back piece, because that's what holds it all together once you get these pieces assembled. And so by putting the sights there, then I couldn't slide this thing down. So then I decided, oh, duh, I should put the sights on this part instead of on the slide. And then I needed a little cutout on the slide, so I took a little negative space chunk out of that. I think it actually like covers this a little bit better, makes it a little more seamless, which is kind of nice too. And I think that's a decent hammer back. Like on a modern one, it would actually go like right up into the dovetail, but because it's attached to this movable slide and not on the frame like a real one would be, it's got to be able to not hit when it goes back. So for now, you know, it's a compromise. It'll do the job, whatever. And I appreciate that this model has actual like semi-working magazine release. Just a little spring fit with some filament in there. So, you know, it's got some bits that duplicate, a little spring on the trigger as well, as does this Glock 19, a little spring on the trigger. Same thing with these are the exact same general design. This one has a little glass back plate that slides out, and then you just got to find the right size spring to load in there. Slide this back in. And I like that you don't have to glue it, so if something breaks, it goes wrong, or whatever, you can still take it apart and fix it. And you can practice some of the manipulations like you'd have for a real one. And it's not, you know, it's not the same tactily, but if you want to build muscle memory, it at least gets you some of those options, which I appreciate. So this is my first time remixing a model, right? That's what they generally call it. So I'll be uploading these remixes and some images to the Thingiverse site as sort of a video response to the earlier versions that are out there. And, you know, I hope someone finds them useful. As with all the stuff that I do, I'm really just, I'm not really making money off this stuff. And being, since moving to Eugene, which is kind of a small town with not a lot of professional work, not really getting to use a whole lot of it either, frankly. And when I do, it's usually not for money. It's, you know, a high school or community theater or an indie film, and it's a favor for friends or whatever. I'm not really getting to do a lot of professional work these days. And I miss it. I just want to play, which is why I'm willing to do the free stuff still. You know, it's nice when you can get paid work and professional work and feel like you're legit, but it's also just like, how long can you go without doing anything and still feel like that's a part of who you are and pretend that it's something you do? So I've been trying to find ways to create work. I just found out I didn't get a grant that I applied for some subsidized trainings to be able to help build a stage combat and stunt community in town at prices people here could afford, because again, they're all doing it as a hobby or as a side hustle, and they're not making much money off it either. You know, all the actors are doing it basically volunteer, so I can't charge too much. It's not really an investment at that point. It's, you know, it's a passion project, it's a hobby. So it's got to be affordable, which I think the arts should be anyway. But, you know, at the same time, that means that then nobody can do it full time because we're not getting paid for it, which is also a little sad. So, you know, I'm doing what I can. I try, and I'm not going to get paid for this either. I'm going to upload these to another free shareware thing because that's what I benefited from. Someone did that for me, and I was able to start playing with these things, and I appreciate that, and I want to pay it back. But, you know, if anybody wants a workshop or something, let me know. If anybody's looking for a gun wrangler, a fight choreographer, armor, old, out-of-shape stunt performer, give me a holler. You know, director. There's a lot of stuff that I used to do, and I'm having a hard time with this idea that it's now really in that category of cool stuff I used to do and not who I still am and what I'm still doing on a regular basis. So help me not go into withdrawal, folks. Tell me I'm being useful. Tell me that I've still got interesting things going for me. And you know, show me what you've got going on, because I bet you got cool stuff going on too. So, you know, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and I hope you're getting to do some cool stuff. Till next time, Kevin Inoue, Fight Designer LLC.